Hi everyone, and welcome to another session of Otis for Educators. I'm Joe Quadrino, and I'm a curriculum specialist here at Tech.
And I'm Emily Parrish, and I'm a marketing specialist at Tech. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Today you're joining us for using Google tools to support English language learners, where we're going to go over some tools built into Google as well as some extensions to use with your ELL population.
And if you have any questions at any time, just throw them in the chat box. I'll be moderating, and you can just view the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen.
Great, so let's take a look at our agenda and get started. All right, so today we are focusing on Google tools to support our ELLs. All of the tools we go over today can be used both in the classroom and remotely to make sure that our students who may not speak English proficiently can still get all the content they need. So let's take a look at our agenda. We're going to start off today with really taking a look at the Omnibar. This is something that you have probably used every day. It's the search bar. How can we use that with our ELL students? How can our ELL students use that as well? We'll take a look at Google Translate, which is a really easy tool for ELLs to use. And then we're going to take a look at some tools within Google Docs. There are several built-in features to Google Docs that help with your ELL students. We'll take a look at them. Then we're going to take a look at some extensions. These are things that you can download for free from the Chrome Web Store that we're going to take a look at and see how they are used. Specifically, Read and Write, Google Dictionary, and Readlang. 3 extensions I think would be beneficial in your classroom. We're going to wrap up by reviewing some other tools, some other extensions or other programs that you can use on Google to help your ELL students. So let's start off by quickly reviewing the Omnibar and how we can use that for ELLs. So the Omnibar, for those of you who don't know what that term is, that's your search bar in Chrome. Like that's what you're typing your web addresses into, your www. That's your Omnibar. The Omnibar can be used for quick translations as well that can be really easy to use and might be the simplest way for your students to get a quick translation. So I'm just going to show you over at the computer how easy this can be. Okay. We've all used the Omnibar before. We may not have called it the Omnibar because it's a little bit of a funky name, but that's all right. We can now use it to make quick translations. So here is our Omnibar right up here. It's the same as typing in the Google search bar. And if I wanted to get a quick translation I wanted to learn how to say teacher in Italian. So if I could translate the word teacher to Italian, and we get a quick translation. Now, it detects the language you type in, right? So it recognized that I was writing in English. And because I asked it to translate into Italian, well, it gives me the translation in Italian, insegnante. I could also do that for phrases. So let's say I want to translate the phrase, I am hungry, to Italian. There we go. Ho fame is our phrase, I am hungry, in Italian. Really easy steps that your students can take using Google, using the Omnibar to get some quick translations. I'm now going to head back to my presentation so we can take a look at how to use even more tools for our students. So the Omnibar is a great way to work with our students or have our students really work on their own to get some quick translations. Google Translate can be used for even some more in-depth translations. Now, before I go into Google Translate, it's important to mention that this translator, and really any translator online, is not going to be perfect. Each translator, is using AI. It's not necessarily a perfect translation. So I wouldn't have your students rely on Google Translate to learn the English language. But if they need quick translations and they want to understand what some words mean, Google Translate is a viable option. So Google Translate, we can use on the browser, but there also is a very viable extension and an app that we can use to get our translations. Now, this can be used for quick translations, but also complete page translations. So whereas the Omnibar might be used for a quick word or phrase, we can use Google Translate to get an entire document translated, but even as well as a quick word or phrase. So we're going to head over to the computer to check out both the browser and extension, and then I'm going to head to the iPad to check out the app. But let's go to the computer first. Okay, oh, there you go, magic board. Cool. All right, so let's head to the browser and let's go to Google Translate. So I'm just going to go to translate.google.com. That's Google Translate. And here we are. This is the browser, right? It's free, Google Translate. So you're going to notice a few options. First, we can choose our language to type in. So you can have it detect your language, or you can select the language you want. So I'm going to start with English. And I want to learn how to translate where is my notebook. And I'm going to choose the language I want it to translate into. Now, it gives me a few options, but there's also a drop-down arrow here that is going to give us dozens of languages that we can translate into. Now, I'm going to choose for this one, let's go with Spanish. And here is our translation. Where is my notebook? ¿Dónde está mi cuaderno? I think that's how you say it. I don't speak Spanish, but I feel like that's the translation. It is the translation. I just don't know the pronunciation. But that's okay, because I can have it say the pronunciation as well. I can click this little speaker icon, and it will say the translation. We might try that later. Now, a cool thing about Google Translate is that you can start with the English and go to the Spanish, or you could even start in your student's native language. So for example, let's say I have a student who speaks Chinese, and they're trying to get something translated into English. Let's say they want to learn how to say something that they know in Chinese. But if you notice, they can't type in Chinese on their keyboard. They would need to write it in, write all the symbols. Well, we can do that in Google Translate by clicking this little pen icon in the corner here. And this is the input tool that allows students to actually write out what they want to translate. So I learned one Chinese character for today. It looks like that. And it'll give them some options as to what exactly they were trying to translate. It's going to kind of match what they drew to the different symbols it could be. I'm pretty sure it's this one here. And there it is. I learned how to translate people. There you go. That's the Chinese symbol for people, and it translated into English. So again, they can draw. They could turn on handwriting to write out what they want to translate, and it will translate for them. Now, they could do this in any language. So they could even, in English, they could write out something, and they could say, hello. Right, there you go, and that's hello. And it can translate it into Chinese, and there are your Chinese symbols for hello. So, cool. That's really quick and easy Google translations using Google Translate. So let's see what else we can do on Google Translate. We can also translate an entire document using Google Translate. So I'm going to head up here to Documents. This is going to allow me to upload a document or browse my computer to have the document translated. So I'm going to browse my computer, and I have here a little activity, a Prohibition cartoon activity that I'm going to have translated. So I just selected it. I'm going to select Translate. And it actually generates for me a translation of that document, and I had Chinese selected. So this is that same document in Chinese. Really cool. So again, this is something that your students can do to get translations of documents that you've assigned to them so that they can easily understand what is given to them without needing to maybe ask the teacher for help or refuse to do the homework or just give up. They can get these translations for free using Google Translate. And this was all just on the web browser. We're now going to see another option we could use, the Google Translate extension. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with extensions, you can get any extension at the Chrome Web Store. So just to give you a quick preview, Chrome Web Store is easily searchable on Google, and I can search the Web Store for Google Translate. And this is the Google Translate extension. I already have it added. Once it's added, you'll notice it in your extensions toolbar at the top. This is the symbol for the Google Translate extension. Now, the Google Translate extension is great for quick translations as well. So I have open a Newsela article here, and I am first going to set in my options for Google Translate, I want to set my language. What is the primary language? What do I want my searches to be translated into? So let's say for now, I'm going to have my searches translated into Italian, and I'm going to save that. So now when I go back to Newsela and I click on this Google Translate option, I can type in something like "I need help" and translate it, and it's going to give me the Italian translation. Ho bisogno di aiuto. And again, I can have the computer speak that to me as well to get some, hear what it sounds like, get the pronunciation. So this is something that you can do or your students can do to get those translations. They can also, of course, have that default option be English, and they could type in their own translation using the extension. So for example, let's say they needed to learn how to say, because they speak Italian, parlo italiano. How do they say that in English? Well, it would be "I speak Italian." So again, it works both ways. They set that language, and the translation will translate into that language. The Chrome extension also allows you to translate the entire web page. So I have here a Newsela article. It's written in English. I can have this entire page translated into whatever language I have set. So right now, if I click Translate this page, it's going to actually pop open a menu bar here to say that right now it's translated to English. I can change the language it's translated into. So let's click this drop-down arrow, and let's go to Italian. And there you go. Now this entire article is in Italian with that one click. Really cool. This entire article is now translated thanks to that Chrome extension. So that is definitely something that you may want to share with your students, or you might even want to use in the classroom to help with your ELL population. Cool. So now we're going to show the app on the iPad. So I'm actually going to bring my iPad up on the screen here. Let's see if we can get that up. Is my iPad here? There it is. Cool. So I have the iPad here, and I have the Google Translate app. Now you can't actually see where my fingers are touching here, but if you take a look here towards the bottom, I have it kind of hovered, right? That's the Google Translate app. And when I click into it, it's going to give me several options. So the first thing I want to show you on my iPad is an instant translation. So I can actually, I could do normal stuff. I can, type in a translation, English to Italian. I could type in, I like school, and it will give me the translation right underneath, mi piace la scuola. Great, simple translations. But I can also take pictures of documents, and it will translate for me. Watch how cool this is. I'm going to click the camera, which is on that left side. Again, you can't see where my fingers are, so listen to my voice. On the left side of the screen there, right underneath I like school, it says camera. I click camera, and it's now telling me to aim at text. So I have here a vocabulary worksheet. Watch what happens when I have the picture, when I have the iPad over it. Look what that language is on the screen right now. That is my same worksheet in Italian. Look how cool that is. I now see my worksheet in Italian just by using this iPad. I can even pause that translation, and it saves it. And I could, put it down, and now I have that sheet in Italian. That's super cool. I could also scan the document. So there's an option there at the bottom, scan. And I could take a picture of the entire page. It's not going to do the automatic translation like it did before. But when I have that scan selected, I take the picture. It's going to scan the document, and all of the words in English it's going to recognize. And I can highlight with my finger to get the translation. So I just highlighted vocabulary worksheet, fill in part 2, and it gave me the Italian translation right underneath. You see it at the top of the page. You could even click this blue arrow on the right, if you see it on the right-hand side, and it'll give you that translation here as well. So again, using the app, you have this cool feature to take a picture of an actual sheet. You can even take a picture of a computer screen to get that translation. You could also use a voice translation here. So I'm going to click on the right-hand side. You see where it says voice. And now I can speak in English. And it's doing it automatically. I'm going to stop it. I just spoke, it picked it up, and now I get the Italian translation right underneath. You could even do this with a conversation and have someone speaking in English and someone speaking Italian going back and forth. Right now it's just picking up the English because I'm only speaking English. But again, cool to use with your students. Oh. There you go. You get the Italian translation, even says it for you. Last thing, you could also do the handwriting. So like we saw before, with any language, right now I'm in English, so I'm just going to, again, I could write out. And there you go. It puts on the screen, and then it translates it underneath. So really cool features on the iPad that you can use with the Google Translate app. Okay, I'm going to head back to my computer so that we can take a look at some other Google tools that we can use to support our ELLs. Google Translate is a great option. We have a whole course on Google Translate to learn more about it. I've posted that in the resources below this video. But we have some other Google tools that we can use to help our ELLs as well. We're going to take a look now at a few tools built into Google Docs to help our students. So within Google Docs, there are a few things that we can do. We can set the language of the document. Let's say your student is a native Spanish speaker and they're typing their assignments in Spanish, but they're constantly frustrated by seeing all those red squiggly lines underneath all their words. They know it's right, they're just typing in Spanish, not English. When we set the language of the document, they can type in their native language and it'll pick up the grammar of that language. No more red squiggly lines. We can also use voice typing, where they can say what they want to type and it will pick it up and put it on the page for them. Another great feature. We're also going to take a look at the input tools. This is another way for students to write, like, handwrite their words and have them appear on the screen. And lastly, we'll take a look at how you can translate an entire Google Doc at once. So let's head over to the computer and check out some Google Doc tools. All right, Google Doc tools. We got some good stuff coming up. I love the Google Doc tools. So let's just get to a Google Doc. I'm just going to go to docs.google.com and get a new doc for us. And the first thing I want to do is show you how to set the language. So the default language is English, but if we go to File, and then we go to Language at the bottom here, we can set the language of the document. And again, if you have your students writing in their native language, you're going to want to have them change the language of the doc. So if I change the language to Spanish, which of course would be written Español because that's Spanish, now when the students write in Spanish, they won't see those red squiggly lines for typing correctly in Spanish. We can also use voice typing. So the voice typing is a really cool feature. I'm going to go to Tools, Voice Typing. And this is going to allow you to speak. I'm pretty sure I have the microphone set up here. So I'm going to click to speak. I'm going to allow the microphone. And let's see if this works. Great. I talk, it types. And I turn it off when I want, and we can actually get that voice typing in the document. Your students don't need to be familiar with a keyboard. If they are better at speaking the English language than, let's say, typing it or writing it, voice typing might be a great option for them. So we can also have students use input tools. Let's say that students, you have maybe some Chinese students or Arabic students or Russian students that don't use a Latin-based language. In other words, they wouldn't use a regular keyboard, a standard keyboard. So we can have them handwrite their words, handwrite their language. But the first thing we're going to do is change the language of the document to their language. So they're going to go to File, Language, and I'm going to scroll down to Russian because I know this is Russian. All right, so let's change this to Russian. And you'll notice when I do that, we actually get another option in our toolbar here. This isn't normally there in your Google Doc. This only appears when you're using one of those non-Latin based languages. So right now we have this icon here that's going to allow us to either type using a Russian keyboard, or we can even handwrite it. So for example, if I type this keyboard option, you'll see here now my students can type using a Russian keyboard to type their work. You could also have students, again, by going up here and clicking the little pen icon, they can write out their Russian. So I learned before that something like this looked like hello. Yeah, I think it was like this one. There we go. And now I have some Russian. I hand wrote it, and now it appears on my doc. So these input tools are really useful for students. You'll also note there's one more option up here, and this is a transliteration. Not a translation, a transliteration. In other words, they can type in English, or they can type in English and it'll translate into Russian, but it's going to translate it based on similar sounding words. It's not necessarily a translation, it's a transliteration. So to give you an idea, even if I were to write, "Hi, my name is Joe," it may not necessarily translate to Russian exactly because of some funky transliteration. So it's a cool tool that can get the gist, but probably not an exact match. Okay. The last thing I want to show you is how to translate an entire document. So I have over here a full document ready to go, and we can translate this entire document. I'm going to go back to Tools, and right above voice typing is Translate Document. I can rename the doc to be the translated copy, or name it whatever I want, but then I choose the language. So I'm going to translate this whole document into, let's go French today, and translate. And notice it's making a copy of that document. This is the original. This is the translated copy. And now that entire document is now in French. So super quick and easy, an entire doc can be translated just with a click of a button inside of Google Docs. So Google Docs is a great you're probably already using it in your classroom if you're using Google Tools. It's a great way to have your ELLs learn the English language, become more comfortable with the English language, and you also have that kind of safety net of being able to use their native language as well. So the Google Docs tools, I highly recommend checking out. We're also going to take a look today at some extensions that you could use in the classroom. Read and Write, Google Dictionary, and Readlang. All of these extensions can be used by your ELLs to help them become more familiar with English while navigating the web. So we're going to take a look at each of these at the computer, starting with Read and Write. So Read and Write is an extension that you can download from the web store, just like we saw before. And the Read and Write extension, once you download it, is going to be this little purple puzzle piece icon up here. That's your Google extension for Read and Write. Once you've downloaded it, you'll see this in your extension bar. So I'm going to go back to my Google Doc, and I'm going to open up the Read and Write extension just by clicking on it while I'm in the doc. And this toolbar appears at the top. Now, I do want to point out, right now, I'm kind of using a free trial of their premium features. Not all of these options are available for free. I'm going to focus today on those free options, but note that if you do download Read and Write, you can pay for premium features. I even think they have a deal for teachers where you can get some cool features like students being able to highlight the text, they can predict text, or even have a picture dictionary for words, which is a nice little tool. But I'm going to focus on the free features, and the first one is a simple translator. So I'm going to have my mouse on a word, passenger, and I can have it translated, and I have my Read and Write set to Italian, and now I get the translation for passenger into Italian. You could set that language by right-clicking on the extension. going to your options, and you can set that language for read and write. Let me do that one more time. So we translate, right, the translator. We are going to the options, and I am almost positive there is a way to get the translation. I'm missing it right now. We might come back to that in a bit, but you can change the language. I know I have it set to Italian one way or the other, so that's something we'll take a look. Oh, you know what? Here it is. It's this three-dot menu right here. This has got to be it. Options. Here we go. Yeah, so I can change the language from the three-dot menu inside of the read and write bar. I knew it was some menu option. Here's language. I want the language maybe to be in something else, and I can change the translation. Right now I have it in Italian. There we go. Panicked for a second. Almost didn't know what I was talking about, but I always do, so we're good. All right, one other free feature that we could focus on here is the read aloud. So this is great for students who want to hear the text in English. It's this play button up here. So when I click that play button, we're going to hear the text read.
Passenger trains. Passenger trains. A passenger train includes passenger carrying vehicles and can often be very long and fast. It may be a self.
All right, so we could hear the text. It reads aloud. You can stop it at any time by clicking these options at the top to pause it or stop it. And you note that it highlights along so students can follow along with the text. The read aloud features and the translate features are your free features in read and write. All the others are paid. Let's take a look at another extension, and now we're going to focus on Google Dictionary. Google Dictionary is another extension that's easy to download by just going to the web store. And for Google Dictionary, I'm actually going to pull up this Newsela article. I'm going to bring it back to English. And we're going to see how we can get a quick translation. So again, in my Google Dictionary, I can click the icon and quickly define a word. So for example, if I was a student, I'm looking at this and I don't know what searching means, I can type it in, click define, and it will give me that definition. But I can also double click the word on Newsela. So watch what happens when I double click the word searching. And that definition pops up right there. And again, I could even get that audio to hear the pronunciation. This is, once it's downloaded, you can double click on any word on the page and it will give you that definition. It's a really useful tool for your ELLs students. Once it's downloaded, they're like, I don't know what this word means. They double click and they get the definition. And that's Google Dictionary. It's really simple and easy to use. They don't even need to worry about their language, so to say. It's just to get the definition in English. The last tool I want to show is Readlang, which I think is really cool. So Readlang is this green icon here, another Google extension. In my extension bar, it's the green square with the white R. And I'm going to go back to Newsela, that article, to show you how Readlang works. So when I open up Readlang, it tells me first what language am I starting with and what am I translating into. So I'm going to start in English, and I'm going to translate into Italian. And with Readlang, I can click on words, and you're going to see the translation appear above them. So watch this. I don't know what guess means. I click on it, and now I get the translation right above the word. And I can do that for all different words as I'm reading along. I'm learning English. I speak Italian. I don't know, what is answer again? Oh, risposta. There we go. And it's just a quick way for students to get these quick translations. Now, what makes Readlang so cool is that there's other benefits as well that are free. So if I go to this menu, I can import this entire web page to Readlang. Let's sign in with Google real quick. I think that did it. There we go. So I can import to Readlang. The language is English. I can open it up. And now the whole page is kind of in this regular text mode where I can read through it. Again, click the words I don't know. It'll tell me the translations. And it'll even tell me my progress as I go through. And once I finish it, it'll even tell me, you know what, you did a great job reading a complex text there. So that's one benefit of Readlang. It'll also, when you go back to the Readlang homepage here, And this is also accessible from that menu I showed before. So to show that one more time, I'll go back to Newsela. Okay, so I'm going to click back on my icon, brings up this bar, menu. I could even just go to Readlang by, again, going to import to Readlang and open in Readlang. And I can hit this menu on the side to kind of return to the home. And there's a few things in Readlang. There's a library of preloaded texts that students could read from, and you can also upload a text. Students can upload a text to Readlang. It could be a document that you send them, and they'll be able to read that text with the Readlang features of that, the green translated words above. And every word that you click to look for the translation of appears in your word list. So all those words I just translated are right here. Those are the words I didn't know. Here they are to be translated. I could also make flashcards with those words, and I could practice them every day. So Readlang is a great way to have your students practice a new language, particularly for ELL students focusing on English. So I really like those 3 extensions, but those aren't the only tools that we can use with our ELLs. There are some other tools that we're not going to focus on right now. I'm not going to necessarily show them off, but they are kind of important to remember and be cognizant of as you are delivering your lessons. So let's take a look at some of these other tools. All of these different tools, you can find more detailed courses on our platform. Google Keep, Screencastify, and YouTube. I've posted courses for all of these tools in the resources below. But to kind of give a quick recap, Google Keep is a great way to stay organized. You can, keep your notes, make checklists, and it's really nice for students who are learning the English language to make those checklists as well to help them stay organized.
And Joe, I just want to say, Google Keep is not only great for the classroom, but it's also great for personal use. Everything integrates. You can download the app right on your phone, and you can have everything right in front of you right there. You can do shopping lists, you can do packing lists, you can do really anything, and it's all right in the palm of your hands at every time.
Yeah, Google Keep is definitely a great resource for your ELL students and for teachers as well. We also have Screencastify. I personally love Screencastify for my ELL students when I'm delivering content, particularly remotely. I can use Screencastify to record myself so students can hear what I'm saying. If my ELL students are working remotely, one of the biggest challenges, how do I get them to hear the English language as much as they would in the classroom? Screencastify and YouTube are perfect resources to get your students hearing the English language. Particularly YouTube, I would create tons of playlists for my ELL students for any kind of content, whether it be academic or even what I know they're interested in. If I had a kid who loves soccer, I would put a bunch of soccer YouTube videos that have English, that are in English, and have them just watch these videos and get them hearing English. Remember, if they're working remotely, they're coming from an immersive environment to one at home where maybe they're not hearing English at all. They need to hear English. So give them some YouTube playlists to help support those ELLs at home. So we went over a lot of great tools. There is so much that you can use for Google tools to support our ELLs. I want to thank everyone for joining us for this course on how we can support our ELLs using Google tools. I want to thank Emily for moderating.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for having me, everyone.
And I also want to thank Brian behind the camera for making us look so good. Remember, if you want to receive credit for this course, make sure you complete the quiz and survey. And if you have any questions at all, hit that Ask Otis button, and someone on our team will help you out. From all of us here at Tech, you're smart kids, I believe in you. Have fun, be safe.
Bye.